He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Marc Levin.
Hello, everybody. Marc Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Well, now, Luis Gutierrez is making threats. Luis Gutierrez is making threats. Jorge Ramos, who fancies himself a journalist and he's no such thing, he's making threats. Jorge Ramos, they say, is the most popular journalist on Latino television. Obviously, I would have no idea since I don't watch Latino television. I barely watch any television, except, of course, HGTV and my buddy on Pawn Stars and a few of those. But that's beside the point. Luis Gutierrez, a professed former communist, oh, yes, he doesn't like the judge's ruling in Texas. And, of course, like a good leftist, the law means nothing. The ends justify the means. Luis Gutierrez was on MSLSD today, and let's hear what he predicts. Cut 3, go.
The Republican Party is making a critical mistake.
Stop. 26 states brought a lawsuit led by Texas. Is it only Republicans who've had enough of illegal immigration, of masses of foreigners coming across the border willy-nilly? Is it only Republicans? I don't believe that's true, because when you get over 50% of the American people saying they've had enough, that's not only Republicans, Luis Gutierrez. No, it's a lot of people who aren't Republicans who've had enough. You know what we call them? Americans. And they're not all white Christian males. Some of them are females. Some of them are African Americans. Some of them are Caribbean Americans. Some of them are Indian Americans. Some of them are Mexican Americans. Some of them are Honduran American, and on down the list. But Luis Gutierrez only sees black and white, or should I say brown and white, because he's a racist, and he's a race baiter, and he's a hater. Let's start from the top, Mr. Producer. Luis Gutierrez, cut 3, go.
The Republican Party is making a critical mistake. The militancy that will be activated through immigrant community in terms of voter registration, voter participation, voter anger at the Republican Party.
Stop. The militancy? You know, ladies and gentlemen, this man does not represent the Latino community because we don't vote that way. Okay, the Latinos have a leader, and the blacks have a leader, and the whites have a leader, and this one has a leader. This man just assumes he's the leader, and the media like what he says, so they push him out front. Luis Gutierrez is a two-bit backbencher congressman from Chicago. That's it. Former cab driver coming out of Puerto Rico. That's it. That's who he is. He doesn't represent millions and millions and millions of people. About what? 15, 17% of the United States is Latino. It's pretty nasty when Luis Gutierrez keeps threatening the majority in this country with militancy, with voter turnout, and what we're going to do to you and what you're going to do. Does the man not believe in the Constitution? Answer, no, he doesn't. Go ahead.
As a party in the United States, I think you're going to see
stop.
it.
You know what, pal? We don't need your advice in the Republican Party. Are you a Republican? No, you're not. And this race stuff, it's so destructive. And yet the Democrats don't know anything else. That's all they know when it comes to internal politics. When it comes to overseas, they don't see anything. Oh, no, it's not Islamo-Nazis. It's just, radical violence. Then all the shades are down, no colors, no nothing, no ethnicity, no religion. Everybody's the same. In America, where we try to be a just nation, regardless of background and race, they can't stop. Oh, look at that. Now, what Luis Gutierrez means is not the Republican Party. It means you white people. Come on, Luis. Stop speaking with forked tongue. I know what you mean, and you know what you mean. More Luis Gutierrez, cut 4 on MSLSD today. Go.
I think it's sad when you listen to the governor of the state of Texas refer to the president of the United States and his first and his last name. Barack Obama.
Stop. Oh! That's really disrespectful. Don't refer to Barack Obama as Barack Obama. No. He's the imperial president. We should all bow down because we all know Luis Gutierrez is a man who's worried about the law and protocol and tradition, which is why he's such a leader for law and order and the Constitution and all those things. Luis Gutierrez, I have impeached your president. He's not my president anymore. Oh, I don't mean under the Constitution. I mean Marc's impeachment rules. I've impeached him. He's not my president. Anybody who wants to fundamentally transform America is not my... Just like you, Luis Gutierrez. You're a two-bit nobody backbencher. Go ahead.
Shows a disrespect for the office and for the institution and for the president himself.
Now that's funny.
That kind of shows
Stop. That's funny. So the governor of Texas shows disrespect for the office of the presidency. No, Luis, the president shows disrespect for the office of the presidency. You know, the guy you're cheering on to violate the Constitution. But Luis wasn't alone. We have Jorge Ramos. Jorge Ramos was busy tweeting. He got very upset by the judge's ruling. And as the folks at Breitbart write, Tony Lee, Jorge Ramos, arguably the most prominent pro-amnesty advocate in the media, believes that a federal judge's injunction against Obama's, that was disrespectful, President, leader, King Obama's executive amnesty defines who is against immigrants in the United States. Just listen to how this racialist and this race baiter behaves. The Texas decision clearly defines who's against immigrants in the U.S. So now you're against immigrants, you see, if you're not for absolute, blatant, brazen lawlessness by the president. Latino voters will remember 2016 is not that far away. He also declared that Judge Andrew Hannon, who issued the injunction, won't have the final word on the matter. Why, Jorge? Does Jorge have the final word on the matter? Is that it? Are you preaching militancy too, Jorge? I'm just curious. Oh, and he was busy out there. He was tweeting away. He was so angry. Very angry. But don't worry, Obama promises to break the judge's amnesty injunction, as they report at the Daily Caller. Despite the unambiguous February 16 injunction from a federal judge, King Obama, said he will press ahead with his plans to launch his unpopular unilateral amnesty. Quote, we're not going to be actually taking applications, and until this case is settled, he told reporters. But we're doing the preparatory work because it's a big piece of business. Well, here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the problem. The judge's order told them they can't do preparatory work. February 16th, 3-page injunction clearly bars any and all amnesty preparations by Obama's immigration appointees. Officials, quote, are hereby enjoined from implementing any and all aspects or phases of the Deferred Action for Parents of Americans and Lawful Permanent Residence program, as set out in the Secretary of Homeland Security Jay Johnson's memorandum. So in other words, Obama can't lawfully allow his bureaucrats to prepare for the unconstitutional act. And yet that's what he's done. And I'm sure Luis Gutierrez and Jorge Ramos, speaking for not just the Latins in America, but around the world, and those yet to be born, and those yet to even be thought about. We know they do because they say they do, in essence. While the President of the United States is already violating the judge's order, and I'm sure they're perfectly happy with it. And why just open the borders to people in our own hemisphere? Why just do that? The administration is going to massively increase refugees coming in from Syria. Oh, yes, this is going to be quite an interesting 10 or 20 years, isn't it? Reuters, the Republican-led House Committee on Homeland Security is challenging an Obama administration plan to admit Syrian refugees to the U.S., saying it could allow potential terrorists to sneak into the country. No way, right? Ned Price, a National Security Council spokesidiot, said all refugees, including those from Syria, would be rigorously screened. Now, folks, that's simply not true. It's simply not true. So we're opening our country to refugees from Syria. We have no idea who these people are, none. What are they going to do, bring their papers with them? They're going to swear that they're going to behave themselves? I tell you, this administration is doing more reckless damage to this country than is imaginable. But it gets worse. Jeb Bush is a disaster. He was on the 5. They played a clip of Jeb Bush giving a speech, so I guess that's going to be a pattern now. You know, you got 19 or 20 other potential candidates. I don't know if their 5 minutes, 3 minutes of speech giving is ever there, but who knows? As I said before, I love the Fox News Channel. I'm a great fan of several of the people there and the executives there, but we should stop kidding ourselves. It is the pro-Bush channel, as it was the pro-Romney channel, because that's what Murdoch wants. And Murdoch wants open borders and amnesty. He's said as much. Sitting next to Valerie Jarrett saying, hey, that Jeb Bush is good. Why? Well, amnesty. So Jeb Bush is meeting with his millionaire and billionaire buddies. You can look at Politico. You can look at other articles. And he is raising a ton of money from these people. And they are telling him that they are supporting him because of his position on amnesty. They call it immigration, but let's not fool ourselves. Amnesty. Amnesty. And they are pouring millions of dollars into his campaign, into his PAC, to try and chase off all opponents, all contenders. Because these damn fools know how to make money, but they don't know how to win elections. And during those 8 years that Jeb Bush removed himself from politics, where he didn't lift a finger for a single conservative candidate, he was working for those people. He spent a lot of time on Wall Street. I've got nothing against that. But this is not a man who's going to connect with the steelworkers in western Pennsylvania. This is not a man who's going to connect with the coal miners, if there are any left, in West Virginia and Ohio and Kentucky and Pennsylvania. He's not a man who's going to connect with the assembly line workers who are building our cars and so forth. These are the Reagan Democrats, and we need the Reagan Democrats. Luis Gutierrez, you, sir, can go to hell. I'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have to have Marco Rubio on the program because I need to politely question him about this issue. I have here the Las Vegas Review-Journal. During a visit to Las Vegas, U.S. Senator Marco Rubio said Wednesday, that would be today, Congress should pass a bill to fund Homeland Security without conditions. essentially stepping back from a battle with Obama over his executive actions on immigration. The possible Republican presidential candidate said national security is too important to hold up funding, although he disagrees with Obama's move to go around Congress to halt deportations up to 5 million undocumented immigrants. Obama's order would allow immigrants here illegally to get work permits, collect Social Security and Medicare, and gain tax credits as well. Quote, "We have to fund Homeland Security," Rubio told reporters during a brief news conference. "We can't let Homeland Security shut down," unquote. I spent a goodly part of yesterday's show explaining that 200,000 out of 231,000 federal employees at the Homeland Security Department are classified as essential employees. That means even if not 1 cent goes toward the Department of Homeland Security, and that entire department theoretically shuts down, those people show up for work, and they are paid later. They are not furloughed. They are not let go. They're not otherwise fired. They are working. 83% of the workforce shows up. 100% of those who are working on national security or Homeland Security per se. And so what Senator Rubio has done, he has embraced the misinformation put out by the left, and he and the other senators should know better. The only way to shut down the Department of Homeland Security is to pass a bill authorizing the elimination of the Department of Homeland Security. As a matter of fact, that applies to all this nonsense where they talk about shutting down the federal government. You remember the vast number of departments and agencies remained open. There was a massive essential workforce. So the federal government never shuts down. The only way the federal government will shut down is when the economy tanks, which is why some of us keep talking about the debt. But more focused, I want to get Marco Rubio on this program. I want to confront him about this. I also want to confront him about the Constitution. This is not some national security issue. National security will not be affected one whit. Not one whit. But the Constitution will be damaged forever. So I need to get to the bottom of this, and I would very much like to have the senator back on the program. I'll be right back.
The liberals and the Republicans don't like him, but America does. You can call Marc Levin at 877-381-3811.
Well, the corrupt, disintegrating government of Mexico condemned our judge's ruling in Texas. Did somebody ask Mexico for its opinion? I mean, if anything, Mexico should be paying the bill for all this. Washington Times, Stephen Denon, Mexico condemned a federal judge's decision this week to halt Obama's deportation amnesty, saying the court ruling denies fair treatment to illegal immigrant Mexicans who've worked supporting the American... Shut up, you Mexican government, the Mexican Foreign Ministry. Disgusting and pathetic. They lecture us about immigrants, what they do to immigrants in their own country. That should be brought up to that wonderful United Nations. They have no respect for us, this government. None whatsoever. The Foreign Ministry of Mexico? I mean, look how they talk to us. Look how they talk about us. You jerks, you creeps. The Mexican government has for years pushed its northern neighbor to enact a legalizing program so its citizens can remain in the United States, and have begun issuing new Mexican identity documents to illegal immigrants to use to gain status under Obama's amnesty. The Foreign Ministry said it will keep watching to see if Judge Hennon's injunction is lifted, and will keep its citizens up to date on their ability to apply to stay in the U.S. This is atrocious. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the problem with a lack of assimilation. When people come here at the urging of the Mexican government, the corrupt Mexican government, and the Mexican government through its consulates and its embassy are still representing their citizens in our country, then they're not citizens of our country. They're either dual citizens or they have a legal status created by Obama while they remain citizens of Mexico. Now, that's not how this is supposed to work. You're supposed to cut all your ties to another country. I don't mean you cut your cultural ties, your family ties. You cut your citizenship and legal ties to another country. You're an American. And we have the Mexican government claiming to represent people in our own country while our president's trying to give them citizenship. This has never, ever happened in American history. Jeb Bush, you're a fool. And Marco Rubio, you're not far behind. And the entire damn Republican Party and all their damn donors are participating in this disaster. We're not a country of immigrants like this. We never have been. Never. Where we have a foreign government representing people in this country who are on the track for legalization and citizenship. Never. And denouncing a federal judge's ruling, the foreign ministry, as if they're Luis Gutierrez or Jorge Ramos, threatening us with militancy. This is outrageous. Meanwhile, will the Mexican government reimburse us for the draining of proceeds, money, out of Social Security? Will the Mexican government reimburse us for the draining of resources out of Medicare? Will the Mexican government reimburse you, the American people, for the earned income tax credit, where people who were here illegally, working illegally under false documents, can now go back and get 3 years of welfare that could amount to $24,000 a family? Mexican government can stick it. And nobody's outraged but me. Incredible. What a bunch of saps and suckers we are. Incredible. We don't have anybody speaking for us in the executive branch. Anybody speaking for us in any of the leadership of the Republican or Democrat Party. And we actually have candidates who want you to nominate them for president, who agree with the government of Mexico, who agree with subsidizing illegal immigrants. And they give these phony reasons. We can't shut down the Department of Homeland Security for national security reasons. Senator Rubio, you couldn't shut it down if you wanted to. You'd have to abolish it. Don't you understand? 83% of the employees there, 200,000 out of 231,000, are essential government employees, as identified by the government itself. They can't go home. They have to work. You got it? Oh, but they're going to shut it down. Shut down what? Meanwhile, the Constitution, does that matter? Does that matter to any of these suck-ups and sellouts? Any of them? No, it doesn't. You cannot say what Marco said. You cannot say what Jeb said and then claim that you defend and support the Constitution. It's that simple. Separation of powers goes to the core of the matter, goes to the heart of the matter. Read John Adams. Read Thomas Jefferson. Read James Madison. Every single delegate at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787. Every single one of them. The key issue was separation of powers. How to create these branches. They embraced Charles de Montague, John Locke, and the other enlightened philosophers. And they knew that centralized, concentrated power is the definition of tyranny. Is it too much to expect men who seek the Republican nomination for president to understand this basic founding concept and principle? John Adams wrote an entire book on the issue of separation of powers. Benjamin Franklin made it utterly clear. You cannot have a republic if you don't have separation of powers. And of course, he wasn't the only one. This is essentially what the judge said. who's being trashed by the Mexican government as if it's any of their business. Trashed by Luis Gutierrez, trashed by Jorge Ramos, and trashed indirectly by the Republican leadership. Now, you can see some of us actually believe in the rule of law. Some of us actually believe in the Constitution. Some of us actually believe in American sovereignty. But you can see the nation sliding. We actually have people in this country who want it both ways. Dual citizenship. I reject dual citizenship. You'll hear me defend Israel. You'll hear me defend Israel because it's a free country. I'm not a citizen of Israel. I don't believe in dual citizenship. I'm an American citizen. And isn't it amazing, ladies and gentlemen, when Benjamin Netanyahu is scheduled to give a speech without the approval of the president? I didn't say he could speak in front of Congress. I'm in charge here. Everybody knows that. I'm in charge, except when it comes to the Islamo-Nazis. But when it comes to the Jews, I'm in charge. All the Democrats all worked up. But when the Mexican government interferes substantively with our Constitution, with our judicial system, when the Mexican government, through its foreign ministry and its consulates in this country, are encouraging its citizens to take advantage of our laws and our welfare system, to give them lawyers to bring lawsuits, nobody says a damn thing. Isn't that amazing, Mr. Producer? Netanyahu gives a speech and the whole world goes to hell. Oh, protocol, you know. And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, when this damn administration sued the state of Arizona over its immigration laws, and it went all the way to the United States Supreme Court, are you aware that the Mexican government and about a dozen other governments in this hemisphere filed briefs in our Supreme Court against Arizona? Something that we mentioned in our brief at Landmark Legal Foundation, the interference of foreign governments in our internal affairs. Oh, but Netanyahu's going to give a speech. That doesn't interfere with our internal affairs. What interferes with our internal affairs is when another government is actually encouraging its citizens to take advantage of our laws and our welfare system. And so when finally we have some Republicans willing to stand up in the Senate, not all, you see the weak sisters, they're starting, stand up for the Constitution, the separation of powers, just as the framers of the Constitution would insist. Now you see the weak breaking off from the strong. Let's just hope it doesn't become a stampede, because these Republicans tend to go in a stampede form. And the irony of all this is that even if they wanted to shut down the Department of Homeland Security, unless they pass a bill deauthorizing that department, they can't shut it down. Because there's another statute that gives the administration the power to define essential employees. And 83% of them are essential. So I have no idea what Marco Rubio's talking about. I don't believe he does. And I don't believe any of these Republicans who go on TV and radio and go on, listen, we can't shut down the Department of Homeland Security. What about national security? They have no idea what they're talking about. None. It's sad. I'm very excited to talk to you about Vision Computers. I want you to listen to this. Not only do they have a magnificent product, their service and their warranty is beyond belief. Listen to this. We recently welcomed a new sponsor to the show, Vision Computers. Now, Vision's management believes that their customers deserve great prices and great service after you buy the computers, and they deliver on that philosophy. Now, Vision will build you a computer which will match most of your needs for only $449, or have them build a system to your exact specs. It's up to you. Now, Vision Computers is so confident in their products. Here you go. They will include a free 3-year warranty on parts and labor, and ready for this, and 1-year managed service. Let me repeat that, because nobody else does this. A free 3-year warranty on parts and labor, and 1-year managed service. Well, I'm not done. Listen to this. 15 seconds. 15 seconds is the longest you'll wait to get tech support on the phone. Now, folks, what other company offers that kind of response? No other company offers that kind of response. And too bad we can't get that kind of guarantee from our elected officials, by the way. Now, see the products. Take a look. Go to visioncomputers.com. Visioncomputers.com. See the great prices and get their world-class support on everything you buy. And they're proud of this. And when I met with them and spoke to them, they wanted me to emphasize this to you. Their products are outstanding. They have service like no other company on the face of the earth. This is the company you can rely on for great products and great service after the sale and constant monitoring of your system. Guaranteed. Here's the number. Ready? 877-9-VISION. That's 877-9-VISION. Or go to visioncomputers.com, visioncomputers.com. 877-9-VISION. Vision Computers, great prices, and the best support after the sale. I'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
You know, folks, others have spoken of this, and it's been all over the internet. The liberal lawyers are worried. This judge's decision was brilliant. It was brilliant on the Constitution. But he took it a step further. He said, in essence, you know what, Mr. President? Not only have you violated separation of powers, not only have you written a law, you didn't have any statutory basis for it with it. So you didn't rewrite a law. You actually wrote your own law. Well, if the executive branch is going to issue regulations, apart from violating the Constitution, there's a process you have to go through, an administrative process. And it's all set out there, a period of time for public comment and so forth and so on. And you didn't follow that. You not only wrote your own law, he said, you're giving out benefits. You're giving out things that you're not free to give out. And if you were, you have to go through this process that's set up, like these other departments and agencies that serve under you. You can't just institute this stuff on your own. The earned income tax credits, eligibility for Social Security and Medicare, as well as other aspects of what Obama has done. So Obama slipped all this through the back door. We have Republicans saying, okay, we disagree, but just fund the Department of Homeland Security. Fund it. Spend. Be irresponsible. Are you kidding me? More on Jeb Bush's speech today on our favorite cable show. Is this ridiculous? Let me just say this. Jeb Bush is a weak candidate. All this talk about the cerebral Jeb Bush, where, how, and when. This guy's your typical, prototypical Republican candidate, just like Kasich, just like a bunch of the others. And if we don't nominate a conservative to run in the Republican Party, we will lose again, and we will deserve to lose again. No, I am not talking up Hillary Clinton. She's diabolical and despicable. No, I'm not. I am talking down Jeb Bush. Enough is enough. And I am tired of him being hawked day in and day out, day in and day out. And now we have these money guys rate $100,000 a chair. and they'll have 300-400 people there. And in no time at all, they're raising millions and millions of dollars to try and chase off everybody else. And if they can't, to use that money in Republican primaries to beat the hell out of your conservative candidates. This is why I get furious with some of these reports. Oh, the Tea Party, look how little money they're spending on candidates. The Tea Party's job is to build the grassroots. It's to train people. It's to go door to door, not to contribute money to candidates. That's what we do. They can't just snap their fingers and some jerk who's managed a hedge fund starts cobbling together, he and his friends, millions of dollars writing checks. They got to do direct mail. They got to go door to door. They got to train people. The grassroots work is very, very hard. And people should respect that, particularly conservatives. No, but we should blow out the Tea Party, blow out the grassroots. The only measure should be how much an organization actually spends on candidates and donates to candidates or advocacy commercials, not how much work they do in the streets and the communities, door to door. Because that measurement will demonstrate that all these PACs in Washington, D.C., all these Republicans, so many of these candidates have no grassroots operation. They simply rely on the crony capitalists. I'm fed up with this. Completely fed up with this, and you should be too. Now Jeb Bush wants to buy his way into office. A mediocre candidate, a moderate Democrat, if you will, or a progressive Republican, same damn thing, running against Hillary Clinton. Two losers. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Marc Levin.
Hello, everybody. Hour 2 here. I'm Marc Levin. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Don't worry, I'll get to the Islamo-Nazi caliphates, both of them, and our ridiculous, even preposterous president. I will definitely get to that, but there's some other matters I need to get to. I spoke to you the other day about this backdoor effort by ATF to outlaw ammunition that is used in AR-15s, mainly the .223 bullet or round. And this is very, very serious. Some of you may not care about guns and rifles. You may not care about the Second Amendment. But it's amazing how a pattern develops with a president like this when it comes to the Internet and so-called net neutrality, when it comes to immigration and violating the Constitution, when it comes to appointing people and violating the Constitution, when it comes to refusing to secure the border, when it comes to all these things. It matters. The rule of law matters. Separation of powers matters. A stable society, an American culture matters. And I want to tell you what's going on in a little bit more detail. Our buddy Kevin Williamson, this guy is indispensable. Over at National Review Online, he's talking about a pincer movement on ammunition, the ATF on one side, the EPA on the other. And he points out in 1986, Congress revised the Gun Control Act, inserting prohibitions against the manufacture and import of armor-piercing ammunition. Now, armor-piercing ammunition does not mean ammunition designed to defeat body armor. That would be too simple. It means, most broadly, ammunition that could defeat the soft body armor of the sort that was cutting edge in the 1980s. But banning all such ammunition as armor-piercing would have meant a ban on practically all hunting rifles. One of the truly ignorant and insipid aspects of our gun control debate is that the gun grabbers spend so much time wringing their hands over so-called assault rifles, which are relatively low-powered but kind of scary-looking firearms, generally chambered by rounds, mainly the .223, that are too small even to legally use for deer hunting, while at the same time insisting that they do not wish to bother us about hunting rifles, which generally are much, much more powerful than the AR-15s that so dominate the progressive imagination. Stay with me. So armor piercing came to mean ammunition made of certain materials, tungsten alloy, steel, etc., that could defeat certain kinds of body armor, and they could be fired from a handgun, and only a handgun. Handgun. Did I say handgun? But again, similar problems crop up. Almost all rifle cartridges could be fired from a handgun because there are handguns chambered for all manner of cartridges. Now, the classic American rifle cartridge, the 30-06, can be fired from certain handguns, as can classic big game rounds such as the 45 and the 70, these 70 rounds, which is popular among moose and grizzly hunters, as well as non-hunting hikers and campers who wish to be prepared for a moose or grizzly encounter. So that leads us to another refinement, an exemption for single-shot handguns. The term single-shot handgun means a break-open or bolt-action handgun that can accept only a single cartridge manually and does not accept or use a magazine or other ammunition feeding device. So the term does not include a pocket pistol or Derringer-type firearm. Now, it's almost as though the ATF is reasoning towards some specific predetermined goal, isn't it? Now, sporting exemptions have been handed out fairly commonly for ammunition that might otherwise be classified as armor-piercing, and requests for those exemptions have become much more common as environmentally minded sportsmen and the firms that supply them look for alternatives to lead-based bullets, which can poison, certain feeding animals such as the California condor. California prohibits the use of lead-based bullets for hunting in the condor's range, and other states have some restrictions too. These non-lead bullets, made of steel or alloys, are not designed to pierce body armor. They're designed to keep lead out of the environment and out of the alimentary canals of wild animals. But their composition means they can be classified as armor-piercing rounds if the feds can find an excuse to do it. So what's the upshot of all this? Well, the maneuvering that the ATF intends to do to revoke the sporting exemption for certain popular kinds of .223 ammunition, allowing it to be reclassified as armor-piercing and therefore banned, even though it is not designed as armor-piercing ammunition and has no special armor-piercing characteristics. The reason for this is that the feared and hated AR-style rifle has been enjoying a new career as a handgun. This is yet another consumer response to federal regulation. Some people prefer short-barreled rifles, particularly for home defense situations, when they will most likely be used indoors. But federal law makes short-barreled rifles a special category of weapon that requires additional permits and, of course, taxes. And some jurisdictions ban them outright. By the way, for those of you who say, well, we don't have enough regulations and control, I'll bet some of you are having trouble even following this. There's all kinds of rules. But if you remove the shoulder stock from an AR-style rifle, it's not a rifle. It's a handgun, albeit one of the clumsiest and goofiest handguns on the market. But the fact that there is a multi-shot handgun commercially available for those non-lead .223 rounds means that such ammunition can be banned as armor-piercing, even though it is not armor-piercing ammunition by use or design. So everybody goes back to the lead bullet. Wrong. Wrong. Now steps in the EPA. Leftist environmental groups have been pressuring the EPA to begin regulating or ban outright lead ammunition under the Toxic Substance Control Act. They lost their most recent round when the D.C. Court of Appeals ruled the EPA lacks statutory authority to regulate lead ammunition. But when has statutory authority stopped the Obama administration? The FCC has no authority to enact net neutrality rules. That's why it's reached back to the 1930s New Deal era law for justification. So you can be sure that the campaign to use the EPA and other federal agencies to ban lead ammunition is far from over. The U.S. Humane Society already is petitioning the Interior Department to ban lead ammunition on public lands. That's why I say, by the way, donate to local shelters, these centralized Washington-based groups like the Humane Society. No, I would never give them money. Give it to your local organization. Now, here's the gist of it. What gun rights advocates fear, not without reason, is that this is the beginning of a pincer movement, with the ATF banning non-lead ammunition as a threat to armor-wearing police officers, and then the EPA banning lead ammunition as a toxin. Never mind, there's no epidemic of police officers being gunned down, despite their body armor, by hoodlums carrying AR-style pistols. The use of such weapons in crimes is so vanishingly rare that no police agency even bothers to track them as a category. There's no reason to assume that this will stop with the .223 ammo, popular for that scary-looking AR-style rifle. There are multiple shot handguns, mostly revolvers, chambers for many kinds of rifle cartridges, meaning that the armor-piercing designation could be applied to all sorts of ammunition for hunting rifles. So in a sense, the gun grabbers were telling the truth when they said they had no designs on our sporting rifles, but the ammunition for those rifles is another story. All right, let me cut to the chase here. So on the one hand, hunters and others trying to be, quote-unquote, environmentally responsible, that was their first mistake, moved toward this non-lead round. And there's a lot of complaints about these non-lead rounds, by the way, but I'm not going to get into that. Then, okay, fine, you're going to ban these bullets. Then we'll go back to the lead bullets. Then the EPA is being pressured to outlaw the lead bullets under a almost 90-year-old law that had obviously no intention of affecting bullets of any kind. And so if they ban non-lead bullets and they ban lead bullets for the AR-15, which is one of the most popular weapons today, Williamson's point is correct. What's to stop them from doing it with another weapon, and another weapon, and another weapon, and another weapon? This is the tyranny I speak about all the time. This is why I say that the state legislatures need to get their act together under Article 5 and do something about what's going on in this country. The courts can't do it. In many respects, the courts are responsible for it. The president can't do it. In most respects, the president is responsible for it and his massive bureaucracy of lawmakers. That's what the bureaucracy is. It's lawmakers. In Congress has surrendered virtually every bit of its power to both other branches, the executive branch and the courts. And it frustrates me to no end when I hear Republicans like Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio, and they're not alone, John McCain and Lindsey Graham and a long list of others, who at the one hand say this needs to be stopped, and then on the other hand capitulate. Capitulate. There can be no more capitulation. There'll be nothing left. I'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
All right, let's take a few calls. We've got a number of subjects out there. Dan, Albany, New York, on the Marc Levin app. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you. It is a great honor to talk to you, Mr. Levin.
Thank you. How old are you?
I'm 27. I'm a graduate student going to get my degree in education to teach. All right. I want you to know that you're teaching me a lot about teaching, and you have been for a few years. And
Thank you.
a lot of the issues that you talk hit home. I'm a Jewish American, and just so many things I wish I could talk about. I know you got a lot of issues to cover, but
I'll tell you what's interesting. You're 27 years old, and if I don't mention this, it'll be a secret that will never be revealed. When it comes, hold on now. When it comes to talk radio in New York, this show has the largest audience of 25 to 54-year-olds of any other talk show in New York, conservative talk show. So that's because I treat younger people with respect, and as a matter of fact, I think we talk about issues here that's going to affect the future. But go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's true, definitely true. So I know you're talking about gun control, and to me, it's like politicians are putting effort into the weirdest places right now. Like, that is not where we need to put our issues. We need to have self-defense, and we need to work on our borders, and we need to work on our economy. And this is what they want to focus on. Like this, to me, it's just crazy.
It is tyrannical, and you can see in all these societies where the people sought to defend themselves. If they weren't armed, they couldn't defend themselves. Here's the thing: I would encourage people who don't have, a handgun to protect themselves at home to get the training necessary and go get one. Why not? Don't be scared. You'll be scared if somebody breaks into your home who's not supposed to be there. I mean, I would tell the Jews in Europe, arm yourselves. Arm yourselves. I would tell the Christians in the Middle East and the Jews in the Middle East, arm yourselves. Mm-hmm. Only you can protect yourselves. Look what's happened. The police aren't there. The army isn't there. These Islamo-Nazi subhuman cockroaches, they roll into these towns. They take innocent men and women. Imagine if everybody was armed. And people better arm themselves before all these things are outlawed. And no, I'm not saying there's going to be a revolution. I'm saying it's like anything else. Family first. Take care of your family. Whether it's diversifying your investments, whether it's the Second Amendment, what's left of it. You need to protect yourselves. You need to protect your family. You need to protect your property. You need to protect your hard work, your earnings. Look out for yourselves. Thank you for your call.
No, thank you.
All right. Look out for yourselves. The illegal aliens are looking out for themselves. They actually have two governments looking out for them, while no government's looking out for the American citizen. Mike, Youngstown, Ohio, XM Satellite, go.
Good evening, Mark. It's nice to talk to you. And like I was telling your screen caller there, I got a love-hate going on with you, brother. I love listening to your show. I try never to miss it. But within the first half hour, you got me going so ticked off all the time. I get so angry at everything going on, but I can't miss the show.
Well, first of all, you're very kind, and secondly, I feel like I speak for tens of millions of people who don't have a voice. And I don't mean just cerebrally. I mean passionately, who are furious and frustrated about what's happening to our country.
And that's where I hope whoever our candidate is has the same fire and passion you do. Now, on this immigration stuff, I just can't believe the Mexican government is going to start issuing birth certificates for these people. So now Jose, because he might have a past, is going to become Emmanuel just because he said he is. How the hell do we?
I get your point. All right. So what you're saying is that Mexico will be preparing papers that may well be false.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to do drywall back in Michigan. I got out of it because there were so many Mexicans took over that trade. I'm in truck driving. Now if they give them driver's license, what's going to stop them from getting in the truck driving to take this trade?
Well, here's the point. And truthfully, okay, Mr. Producer, help me out here. Truthfully, it's not just quote unquote Mexicans. It's the influx of illegal aliens coming into the country here. And they are taking jobs. And if you look at the Census Bureau data, which Jeb Bush has not, which is consultants have not, because they don't care about facts. They don't care about evidence. When you look at it, it is definitely having an effect on college graduates when we're bringing in more and more people from other countries, not particularly Mexico, to compete with them. It definitely has an effect on young people who are trying to find their first jobs, or teenagers trying to find their first jobs. It is definitely having an effect on them. Low-skilled, unskilled labor in this country. It's harming construction workers. It's harming landscapers in this country who are American citizens. And the overwhelming majority are American citizens, according to the Census Bureau. But it's being chipped away at. This is exactly Jeff Sessions' point. And, of course, he's correct. Thank you for your call, my friend. Yes. When are we going to have politicians? Listen, I'm not one of these guys who doesn't believe in capitalism extending beyond our borders, but I am one of these guys who believes in national sovereignty and managed, organized immigration, which is what we've had for most of our history. I'll be right back.
They can clone the others, but there's only one Marc Levin, and you can call him at 877-381-3811.
Now, during the break, I received an email through Mr. Producer from Marco Rubio's office objecting to the story in the Las Vegas Review, which they said did not accurately write what Marco Rubio said at that press event, and they understand that that story is going to be updated shortly. And I have the transcript, the whole transcript, and one of the things I will not do on this program is purposely push misinformation or disinformation. So I'm going to read to you the transcript from that event about what Marco Rubio believes should be done with the Department of Homeland Security in just a minute. But first, I want to tell you about YP. Sure, online marketing is critical to growing your business, but where do you start? Getting found online is complex, challenging, and always changing. But you need to be super visible online because that's where your customers are. You need YP. YP started as the Yellow Pages over 100 years ago. And today, they're the largest marketing agency for local businesses in the United States, with over 80 million potential customers searching YP.com and the YP app every single month. YP provides marketing services from web design to search engine marketing. And they're giving you a free business scan, the essential first step to being found online. And YP will measure your company's online health from the accuracy of your information to how hard it is for customers to find you across online directories and search sites like Google, YP, Yahoo, and dozens more. Potential customers are searching for you daily. But can they find you? YP can help you. Start your free business scan. Yes, your free business scan at myfreeyp.com. myfreeyp.com. That's myfreeyp.com. So let me read to you the transcript, word for word, what Marco Rubio said and what his office says the Las Vegas newspaper got wrong when he was asked about funding Homeland Security and so forth. Quote, yeah, we have to fund Homeland Security. Look, I'm in favor of any measure that has a chance of succeeding that could stop the new order, meaning Obama's order. But the truth of the matter is the president's not going to sign it, and we don't have the votes to pass it in the Senate. We can't let Homeland Security shut down. DACA and the new one are different. What I've said about DACA is that people that have already signed up, that programs, I'm not talking about repealing the program today. I think it would be very disruptive to yank DACA away from people who are already working and have received their permits. Even though I don't agree with it, it would be disruptive to do that. What I've talked about, I'm reading this word for word, what I've talked about repealing is the new order that's been issued. But I think we need to do this legislatively. I still think we have to deal with that issue, but the only way to deal with that issue is in 3 steps. We do not have the votes or the support to do it in a comprehensive fashion. We'll have to do it in 3 steps. Step 1 is to show the American people that we're serious about bringing future illegal immigration under control. Step 2 is reforming our legal immigration system so that it works better, so it's less costly, more efficient, and better for our country. Step 3 is dealing reasonably with the people that have been here for a long period of time, have not otherwise violated our laws, allowing them to come forward, undergo background checks, pay a fine, and in return receive a work permit. They'll have to be in the status for about 10 years, and after that they'll be allowed to apply for permanent residency. But we have to do it in those steps. That's the only way possible for moving forward. There's been 3 efforts to do it in a comprehensive bill, and all 3 have been met with failure here in the last decade. This is Marco Rubio. He goes on. Well, there's been efforts to go to a vote on this DHS issue, and I think that's a place where we can perhaps put in place step 1 of the 3-step process. Unfortunately, so far the Democrats refuse to give us the votes necessary to go on the bill. But the rules of the Senate, you need 60 votes to begin debate, and without the 60 votes to begin debate, they won't even give us the 60 votes to begin debate on the topic. On DACA, this was Obama's original illegal order. Eventually that program has to end. It cannot be the permanent policy of the United States. What I'm not advocating is that we cancel it right now at this moment because you already have people that have signed up for it. They're working. They're going to school. It would be deeply disruptive. But at some point it has to come to an end. It can't be the permanent policy. My hope is that it will come to an end because it's replaced by permanent solution like the one I've outlined through the 3-step process. Now, I think what they're saying is Rubio did not say that we should fund the Department of Homeland Security without the immigration language defunding that part that functions as a result of Obama's unconstitutional fiat. Despite all the rest that I read, and we can debate it, we can get into it with the senator and so forth. That's what he's saying, and he's saying he did not say fund it at all costs. What I'm saying still is that there's a misunderstanding here, and I don't believe he's the only one, that the damn thing is funded at all costs. That over 80% of the employees will be working, no matter what happens in February. That ICE will be working, that the Border Patrol will be working, that the Secret Service will be working. And by the way, this Department of Homeland Security, it's a big white elephant. It's not all Secret Service and Border Security. When Bush 43 put this department together, they put in like 21 or 22 agencies that have been in other departments. Some of them are disastrous. Some of them need to be streamlined. So here we have Republicans defending every damn penny that's going to be spent on this department. And the fact of the matter is, they don't even know what they're talking about. You're not going to defund the Department of Homeland Security. Don't you get it? When 200,000 of 231,000 employees have to show up for work? Now, come on, let's get our facts straight. And that's a fact. So why aren't the people celebrating on Capitol Hill? Why aren't the Republicans grateful? Why aren't they celebrating that other people have figured it out for them, including me? Great. Then the Democrats can't win. That's what they ought to say. Great. And they ought to be at every microphone, whether it's in Las Vegas, whether it's an interview on 60 Minutes, wherever it is, explaining what I've just explained. Not because I've explained it, but because it's helpful to them. Now here's my step 1. Senator and all senators and all candidates. Step 1. Who overstayed their temporary visas? Step 2. Didn't they sign legal applications saying that they would only be in the country for a temporary period of time? Step 3. If you signed one of those applications and you violated your visa status, you are in fact to be deported. That's not a 3-year-old or a 6-year-old. That's a liar. Now that's 30 to 40% of the illegal aliens. I don't know why these senators and congressmen and these party leaders in the Republican Party treat every illegal immigrant like they're the same. Like they're all escaping prison or torture or murder. What about the person who came here on a temporary student visa, finished their learning, and decided to stay? Oh, poor fella. Oh, my God, we can't throw that person out. Why the hell not? What about if somebody comes with a circus? An elephant rider? You have to get visas for that, too. And they're only supposed to stay 3, 4, 5 months as long as the circus is in town. And I don't mean Congress. And that person says, oh, screw it, I'm staying. Well, why shouldn't that person be deported? Oh, well, we can't deport them. That's not American. It's always been American. So these are my questions for the Senator, Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio and John McCain. These are my questions for John Boehner and Mitch McConnell and everybody else. Why do you treat illegal aliens as if they're all the same person from all the same country? That's step one, in my humble opinion. And there's another step one while we're doing that. Do these men and women believe that when they voted, or when Congress voted in 2006, to build a double-fenced physical barrier on our southern border, much of it, did they believe at the time when they voted for that it's some kind of game? Why would you vote for that and not fund it? How can we trust anybody to do anything? The Republicans voted for that. It was under a Republican president. What of that? That's part of step one, too. Got another step one. This all should be happening simultaneously. Anybody with a criminal record. Why are they here? See, people, the purpose of our immigration laws, this is what these politicians don't get and what they should explain. The purpose of our Luis Gutierrez. Hello. The purpose of our immigration laws is not to accommodate foreigners who came to this country illegally or their children. The purpose of immigration laws, ladies and gentlemen, is to accommodate America. Did you know that? It's true. It's all upside down. It's not to accommodate the Mexican Foreign Ministry and its consulates, or the Honduran government, or the Guatemalan government, or any other government. The purpose of our immigration laws is to improve American society. Now, how are you going to improve American society with an endless wave of illegal immigrants? With no respite. Just an endless wave of illegal immigrants. No country can survive that. Look what's happening to Europe. It's collapsing. You don't build an economy this way. No. You're deconstructing America. To use a word in a title of a book written by Arthur Schlesinger Jr., a liberal Democrat historian, a Kennedy guy. No. This isn't conservative or liberal, Republican or Democrat. Some of us love this country. We believe in this country. It doesn't mean we think everybody should be deported or nobody should be allowed in. What it does mean is that when you have waves and waves and waves of people coming in, you're destroying your society. You're doing exactly what Obama said he wanted to do, fundamentally transforming this country. And he's doing it illegally. And he's doing it unconstitutionally. And he's draining our resources at the same time. Now, I've had about a damn enough of it. I'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
So a former nursing home worker was sentenced to 5 years on probation after she pleaded guilty in an identity fraud scheme. She admitted she had provided stolen patient identity information, names, birth dates, social security numbers to another woman. False tax returns were then filed using the nursing home's residents' names, and tax refunds were deposited onto prepaid debit cards. These people are unscrupulous. Now, no one can stop all identity theft. Identity thieves are smart, they're experts at what they do, and everything about us, even our bank accounts, are connected and stored on some cloud. And all it takes is one hack, one breach, and thieves could have everything they need to take over our lives. And this is becoming an epidemic in this country. I mean, big companies, small companies, people looking over your shoulders, new devices they have to take information. This is precisely why I have LifeLock Ultimate Plus, because LifeLock's best just got better. LifeLock Ultimate Plus is the most comprehensive identity theft protection available anywhere. Visit LifeLock.com/Levin now, or call and use promo code Levin to save 10% on your LifeLock Ultimate membership. 800-457-LOCK, 800-457-LOCK, 800-457-LOCK. Network doesn't cover all transactions. You know, it's as if all these stories about, these hackers tapping into these big companies, these retail outlets, and these banks and so forth, where you have all your significant and important life's information. It's as if you're getting a warning day in and day out. So you either heed the warning, or you just lay naked, frankly, from a security point of view, and you take what comes. This is why I want to urge you. Many of you have heard me talk about this many times. I want to urge you to call 800-457-LOCK, 800-457-LOCK. Mention my name, Mark. Go ahead and get started and protect yourselves. That's what I did. LifeLock.com/Levin, Levin. Well, look at this. The United States State Department has issued a travel warning to Israel. Now, Ynet.com, with our Google translation of the Hebrew, the U.S. State Department issued a travel warning for Americans who travel to Israel with an emphasis on visits to Jerusalem. Quote, the security situation can change from day to day. Depending on the state and regional peace, there is a danger of political tension and violence in Jerusalem and the West Bank will bring your inquiries and even death up to American citizens, reads the warning. Will bring you injuries, I should have said. American publication states that the security situation in Tel Aviv and Haifa, similar to other major cities in the world, and travel warnings related to visiting Jerusalem, West Bank, and Gaza. Now, I can see warnings to Gaza and parts of the West Bank that are controlled by the Arabs, the Palestinians. But the entire country of Israel, to issue a travel warning to the entire country of Israel, don't think this isn't intentional, ladies and gentlemen, unrelated to what's going on, as a matter of fact, on the ground in Israel. More effort to get rid of Netanyahu, more effort to choke that tiny little country. I don't get it. I don't get it. With all hell breaking loose with the Islamo-Nazis, Islamo-Nazi regime, Islamo-Nazi terrorists, 2 caliphates, World War III, and the Obama administration is obsessed, fanatically obsessed, with choking off this tiny little gem. Although, what do you expect? They're doing the same to our country. But it's life and death over there. Absolute life and death. At the same time, this administration is withholding weaponry from Egypt. Egypt's now buying jets from France. Say this administration is putting the shoulder on Jordan and Egypt, telling them not to strike so hard and so fast against the enemy. Egypt is now calling for a coalition of countries to fight in Libya. Obama created this stuff in Libya, as did Lindsey Graham and John McCain. We don't even support our allies. But then again, look who's president of the United States. I've got all kinds of clips here, audio, that the backbenchers will play tomorrow of Barack Obama going on in his preposterous, ridiculous, Castro-like speech after his phony meeting today. Oh, our violence seminar. I am not going to burden you with it. I'm not going to torture you with it. You can let the guys in the morning fill their time with it. I have no stomach to hear this guy on an issue in which he obviously doesn't give a damn. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Marc Levin.
Hello, everybody. This is Hour 3. I'm Marc Levin. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Well, Howard Dean is a very sick man. He's a doctor. Did you know that? Dr. Demento. Oh, yes, Dr. Howard Dean, former governor of Vermont. I've always said, where is Mrs. Howard Dean? Does she exist? Or is she a figment of our imagination like Barack Obama's non-existent son? Well, Howard Dean was on the Morning Schmo show. That would be Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. Scarborough fancies himself a conservative Republican, but then again, he could fancy himself Bozo the Clown. Doesn't matter what he fancies himself. He's an odd duck, you might say. But Howard Dean is on the Morning Schmo show. And I just want folks to understand that the Democrat Party and the left are now out of the closet. They're out of the closet. They've exposed themselves completely as anti-Israel. So they've taken sides. And, of course, now that we're going to accept more and more and more refugees, quote-unquote, from the Middle East, this should be really cool as time goes on. And, of course, this will all help us improve assimilation. It will all help us breathe life back into the American culture, because, after all, that's what immigration is supposed to do. But what immigration is doing today is the opposite of that. And there are too many stupid Republicans and phony libertarians who just don't get it. And never will. They're ideologues too. They're frauds too. Here's Howard Dean on the Morning Schmo on the MSLSD cable channel. Cut 8, go.
I would not go to this speech. I think Netanyahu has been a disaster. I do agree with Peter that I'm not a big fan of the agreement with Iran. I don't trust the Iranian government as far as I can throw them. But the fact of the matter is that this started when Joe Biden went over and the Israelis announced 2,000, the Netanyahu government announced 2,000 new settlement lodgings on the West Bank.
Stop. Okay, let's get some of this straightened out, because this guy is a complete a-hole and moron. You're going to hear this language all the time, that the Israelis are building settlements on the West Bank. The Israelis control part of the West Bank. Part of the West Bank, should be all the West Bank, but part of the West Bank belongs to the nation of Israel. What has happened over the decades is that liberals, both Republicans and Democrats, want them to negotiate away part of their own country in exchange for peace. And the Israelis are not willing to do it. At least not Netanyahu. So they build on their land, in the West Bank. Israeli land. That the Palestinians claim, but then again, the Arabs and the Palestinians claim everything, don't they? So when Netanyahu allows the building of settlements, like apartment buildings and homes for their people, because it's a very small country, what clowns like Dean and Obama and the rest are saying is, We are telling you, Israel, you may not build these homes, these apartment buildings on your own land, in your own country. Now the Palestinians and the Arabs do whatever the hell they want to do. Homes, tunnels, rockets, whatever. So just so you understand this debate as such as it is, the Israelis are not building homes and apartments and so forth on disputed lands. It's just that liberals and Israel haters in our government are saying it's disputed land because they want Israel to give it up as a condition of a two-state solution. Well, Israel's concerned about the Jewish solution of the Third Reich and now the Islamo-Nazis. So I wanted to get this fact out on the table. It's gone on way too long. Oh, look at them building settlements in the West Bank. Like, oh, yeah, what the hell is that? What do you mean, what the hell is that? Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
You know, I don't trust Netanyahu. I think he's not served Israel well. He's put his, imagine Obama going over 2 weeks before the election here and giving a speech to the Knesset where he tells the Israelis how they should run their foreign policy. It's outrageous.
Stop.
What's going on.
Stop. Imagine Obama going to the Knesset and giving a speech 2 weeks before the election. Well, let's imagine it differently, genius. That Obama's invited to speak at the Knesset. And 2 weeks before his election. And Netanyahu's so furious, he sends a team over to the United States, funded by his government in part, to defeat Barack Obama in the next election. And imagine if one of his advisors called Obama a chicken ass. Imagine if some of his advisors, surrogates, were out there trashing Obama day in and day out. Imagine if Netanyahu personally called in the Jewish members of the House and Senate. The Jewish Knesset members. They're not all Jewish, by the way. Some are Christian, some are Muslim, some are nothing. But imagine him calling in the Jews in the Knesset and saying, look, boycott Obama's speech. Boycott it. I don't care that the Knesset invited. Boycott it. Imagine if Netanyahu did all the things to Obama that Obama's doing to Netanyahu. But Howard Dean won't do that. Howard Dean has no idea what Netanyahu has done for Israel at all. But there's a poll out by CNN, and part of the poll is a push poll, because CNN exists to defend Barack Obama and the Democrats. And the part of the push poll is, whoa, do you think Netanyahu should have been invited without telling Obama? And, no, of course not. But the interesting part of the poll is, do you favor Obama speaking to Congress? And overwhelmingly, the American people say yes. Yes. I'm not going to play any more of Howard Dean because he's a moron. And but I wanted to point out the bigger point, that the Democrat Party has now thrown itself in with, I guess, Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama. No question about it. And, of course, MSLSD, nobody really challenged Howard Dean. Amika Brzezinski's not up to the task, and neither is Joe Scarborough. But I do notice in March the Republican National Committee is having an event, and they're having a number of these potential candidates speak. Of course, Jeb Bush. I didn't see Ted Cruz on there, or Rand Paul on there, or some others. Don't you folks remember when Reince Priebus said that a whole bunch of talk show hosts, conservative talk show hosts, would be moderating these debates? Are there talk show hosts who are going to be moderating Republican debates in the primaries? He was asked specifically about Rush and Hannity and me, and I told you at the time, the guy's a fraud. He may have some talk show hosts, but it'll be talk show hosts he likes, but he's a fraud. United Nations. CBS News, Iraq's ambassador to the UN asked the UN Security Council to look at allegations that the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, is using organ harvesting as a way to finance its operations. If you can think of every barbaric act, every inhumane act that's possible, it's being committed today by these Islamo-Nazis. Ambassador Mohammed Al-Kim told reporters that in the past few weeks, bodies with surgical incisions and missing kidneys or other body parts have been found in shallow mass graves. We have bodies. Come and examine them, he said. It's clear they're missing certain parts. Let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think these people were given anesthesia when this happened? I seriously doubt it. He also said a dozen doctors had been executed in Mosul for refusing to participate in organ harvesting. The ambassador briefed the council on the overall situation in Iraq and accused ISIS of crimes of genocide and targeting certain ethnic groups. Isn't it amazing how quiet the UN has been? Isn't it amazing when it doesn't involve Israel, they don't say anything? Where the hell is the United Nations? Are they not united? What good is the United Nations? It's not good at all. I'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
Peter, Los Angeles, California. Where are you listening? On the Marc Levin app? How are you, sir?
I am good. I'm calling from the Marc Levin app.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am. Quick question for you. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes.
In regards to morality and war, if we accept the fact that we're on a collision course with ISIS, one way or another, do you think that Sherman had it right in saying that, in not so many words, that the only moral way to wage war is to get it over with as quickly as possible?
Well, to a point. I mean, I wouldn't be dropping. The quickest way to get this over with would be to drop about 3 nukes. So, but I do think that if you're going to engage in war, that yes, you use your military might within reason. That is, you don't have to use nukes, but also you don't do the kind of stuff I think George W. Bush was doing. I mean, we're not interested in building democracies out of societies that date back to the 7th century. If they don't want it, you have to defeat the enemy. Then you can look into whether these societies are going to be rebuilt, whether they're going to have democracies or not. But you defeat the enemy. That's what we did in World War II. There wasn't anything about a Marshall Plan until the enemy was wiped out. Now, I do agree with you, and I do agree with Sherman, and I agree with FDR, and I agree with Truman, and I agree with Eisenhower, and all of them, which is, if you have an enemy, and it's a real enemy, and you're going to war, then defeat them, beat them, and do it as fast as you can. Yes.
Do you
Thank
think
you for
that...
your call. Well, yes.
Bye.
Yes. Now, what? Oh, that. All right, there he goes. You can't have like a 4-second delay. It's just weird on radio. It's like, hello, yellow. Let's go to Edward, Wichita, Kansas, the great KNSS. Go.
Hi, Mark. Greetings from the heartland of America, where we still believe in the Constitution and the rule of law, and thank you for all you do for defending it and keeping it in front of us.
Well, thank you. Many of you do, but those who voted for Supercilious as your governor twice, and then her father, too, that's a little sketchy. But go ahead, my friend.
Yes. Listen, I just want to make a quick point. It's an argument that I think is something that can turn the president and his party on its ear on this whole amnesty discussion. I haven't really heard anybody make this argument yet, but aside from the fact that what he's trying to do is unconstitutional, and aside from the fact that, as you pointed out, you're really not going to shut down DHS, I think that we need to press the president to say, Mr. President, you promised to veto the bill that the House passed, and by doing so, you are saying to every American citizen in this country, I'm willing to put you, your families, and in fact our nation at risk, and your safety and security at risk for the sake of a few million people who are here, frankly, illegally, because you're not getting your way and giving freebies out in quasi-legal citizenship.
Now, a couple of questions on this, seriously. Do you really expect a Boehner or McConnell or any of these knuckleheads to say anything like that?
No, I don't. And frankly, I'm not convinced the press would do it either. But it's such a compelling thought.
It is compelling, and if the conservatives were in charge, and they had their message, and they would make it every single day about the lawlessness of this present law. Repetition is important in politics, much like propaganda, unfortunately. But repetition, like the Republicans oppose women's rights, like the Republicans oppose immigrants, like the Republicans want to shut down the government. This is the technique, just repetition. The Republicans are tripping over each other. We've got a sizable majority of the Republican leadership and elected Republican officials who really are not that offended about what Obama's doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't they don't sound like they are. I mean, they'll make a couple of comments like, he's an imperial president. And then when push comes to shove, we got to prove we can govern. Who wants to prove they can govern with a man who's increasingly despotic?
Yes.
What is that all about?
Yeah, it's as though they're on the same mindset that he's on. I mean, it just is baffling, frankly.
They are baffling. They're buffoonish. Thank you for your call, my friend. Makes no sense. Just the Republicans say, we want to show we can govern. How? When you have an increasingly despotic president in the Oval Office who's pushing his agenda with or without you, you want to show you can govern. How about if you show you can protect the Constitution? How about if you can show you can protect your own power in Congress? That would show you can govern. Pushing this agenda, this Obama agenda, that doesn't show you can govern. That shows you're a bunch of yes men and yes women. And our Constitution isn't about whether you can govern. It's about whether you can govern within the confines of the Constitution. And they're not serious about it, ladies and gentlemen. Or Mitch McConnell would have gone to the microphone any time of the last year and a half and said, you know what? You keep doing things unilaterally, passing laws by judicial fiat. You keep doing that. We are suspending the filibuster rule, and we are going to pass our own legislation. We are going to get around your goose steppers in the Senate. We're going to send you this legislation. We're going to expose you for what you are, what you're doing, who you are, and we're going to let the American people know day in and day out, oh, Mark, you're such a radical. Nothing radical about this at all. Nothing at all. But they won't do it. Nick, Clearwater, Florida, the great Sirius satellite. Quickly, go.
Hey, Mark, it's an honor to talk to you.
Thank you. Let's go.
I'm just a little confused. Why Jeb Bush came out today saying that the war in Iraq was a mistake because there were no weapons of mass destruction found, and when there were weapons of mass destruction found, I'm just confused as to why he's saying this.
You mean he's throwing his own brother under the bus?
Yeah.
Well, this could get interesting. And let me tell you something. He would have done that without George W.'s blessing, without George H.W.'s blessing, and without Barbara's blessing. So they must be telling him, win at all costs, George, win at all costs. You know, the Reagan base, the conservative base has never been the Bush base. Win at all costs, George. Go to the millionaires and billionaires, tell them what they want to hear, talk up amnesty. Then when you go to CPAC over the next weekend and you're being interviewed, talk about how much you love conservatives and how conservative you are and what a conservative governor you are. You know, do whatever you have to do, Jeb, including throw your brother under the bus. We get it. We just want another president.
Some people talk about the Tea Party. We are the Tea Party. Call in now. 877-381-3811.
Did you sleep your way through President's Day on Monday? Miss the mattress sales? Doubtful, since you're not getting much sleep. or anything else on your lumpy old mattress, it really does have to go, don't you think? Do what I did. Get a Casper mattress. It's totally worth it. Don't get ripped off and test a mattress for a couple of seconds with some sales guy hovering over your shoulder. Try your Casper at home, in private, for 100 nights, risk-free. And if you don't love it, they come pick it up in your home, and they refund you everything, no questions asked. And you are going to love it, because I have this mattress, and it's the best mattress I've ever had. Get a Casper mattress online and save thousands. It'd cost you 3-4 times more if it was sold in the stores. I love my Casper. I'm getting the best night's sleep I've ever had, and you will too. Guaranteed. Do you know what I mean about guaranteed? To try your Casper mattress for 100 nights risk-free with free shipping, go to Casper.com. Use referral code MARK to get $50 towards the purchase of your mattress. Now, that's CASPER.com, referral code MARK, Casper.com. Folks, I try out, or I am familiar with, every single thing I talk about on this program. There is no way I would tell you that this is the greatest mattress there is if I didn't think it was the greatest mattress there is. I have this mattress. It's the greatest mattress I've ever had with its new technology. And if you don't like it, you can send it back for free after 3 months and 10 days. So you don't need to go into a store. You don't need all that overhead. This is the sort of thing you want to get online. And I'll tell you something else. When it arrives, and I won't give this away, it's really cool the way it shows up and how you unpack it. Those of you who've purchased it, you know what I'm talking about. So it's a great mattress. Comes straight to your house. You go to CASPER, Casper.com. Make sure you use my referral code, MARK. 100 nights risk-free. You cannot beat that. You don't know what a mattress is like when you go in a store and you lie on it for like 5 minutes or 2 minutes. And by the way, isn't that kind of weird? Everybody's looking at you. I don't like it. But you'll like this. This I can assure you. More than that, Casper will guarantee you. Give it a shot. CASPER, Casper.com, referral code MARK. I love the mattress. Justin, Memphis, Tennessee, on the great WKIM. Go.
Yes, sir. All I was wanting to say is he's already started to try his gun control just as far as limiting the number of bullets you can buy when he used an EPA. Well, he just tried to...
Hold on, let me slow you down. He is Obama limiting the number of bullets you can buy?
Well, as far as he closed down smelting plants with the environmental bill or whatever it was that closed
They are
down.
trying to shut down smelting plants, and also the Justice Department is trying to cut off
There's only one...
they're trying to cut off credit to gun shops as well.
Right. There's only one actual active smelting plant that's still active in the United States, and that's just another form of gun control is all it was.
I guess we have to import our bullets like everything else.
That's right. So we need to depend on somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
All
right, my friend, thank you. Memphis, Tennessee. Oh, man. Talk barbecue, baby. Memphis is great. I know. Kansas City. I know. And Texas, I got it. Something about Memphis. Matt, Trumbull, Connecticut, the great WABC. Go.
Hi, Mark. I'm just concerned, President Obama ignored the Congress with this injunction now in Texas. When does he go and ignore the courts and solidify his despotic power?
Well, he sort of has already, because he is going forward with preparing for what he believes will be another court overturning this judge, and yet this judge's order prevents Obama and everybody who works for him, anybody who works for him, from preparing anything. So he's already violating the court order.
Well, that's very disappointing. I'm in the Constitution state, and I'm
yes, it's also the nutmeg state, as a matter of fact.
Yes, that's true. But there are some of us here that still live here that are normal, Mark.
I know. I remember the good old days when Connecticut didn't have an income tax. Then you guys elected another slob liberal Republican, Weicker. And then, of course, the Democrats piled on, and now you have, just like Massachusetts and Rhode Island and all the rest, these radical buffoons who are sent to Washington, D.C., who become your governors, and Connecticut has gone to hell. I say with all due respect.
Yeah, no, if I could move, I would, but I can't. So
It's a beautiful state. Well, it's like California. Beautiful state. California's gone. California is a one-party dictatorship. That's what it is. It's awful. They've taken truthfully, I only lived there a little bit. It is the most remarkable state in terms of the resources, in terms of the geography and so forth, and it's gone. They now have high unemployment, high illegal immigration, businesses are leaving, productivity is down, all because of these puke liberals who take over every level of government, and it's just sad. It really is. Thank you for your call. So many great states have gone under. And you can see it spreading, like the plague. Like the plague. Oh, I destroyed this state, Frank. I can't vote for Barbara Boxer anymore? Can't vote for Barbara Boxer? Oh. Let's move to Arizona. Oh, we'll vote Democrat there. Or New York. Oh, New Yorker. Yeah. We voted for DeCamio. Oh, good guy. But we're leaving. Where are you going? Oh, Florida. Yeah, then what are you going to do? Vote Democrat. Of course, Democrats stand for the people. Like Maryland and D.C. destroying my beloved Commonwealth of Virginia. They escaped their own disaster that they've created. Hey, let's go to Virginia. The taxes are lower. Well, who are we going to vote for? Terry McAuliffe, the Democrat, of course. Oh, Lord. Ben, Seattle, the great KVI, our wonderful affiliate there. How may I help you, sir?
The great one. Hey, we've got to remind everybody the two-state solution already happened in 1923. Transjordan was created. I have to remind the liberals of that all the time when I speak to them.
Let me just underscore your point, and people need to understand this. That Transjordan was created, too, out of whole cloth. When I say two, like Iraq and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and so forth and so on, their borders, Transjordan, the trans part, was really where the Palestinians were mostly located. But, of course, they went to war with the wrong country, and they got their asses kicked, and now it's just Jordan. But that said, we have Bedouins, these Palestinians. I'm going to say this. I've said it before. Again, not intending to be provocative, but intending to be historically accurate. There are no quote-unquote Palestinian people in the sense that they've had countries or territories or anything of the sort. It's such an absurdity. Get right ahead, my friend.
Well, I want to talk about the immigration, why I think where Republicans would be a huge error, a tremendous error, is I've spoken with a lot of black folks. I talk on politics all the time on the Internet, which is great because you meet all kinds of people all over the country, all over the world. And a lot of black people felt, hey, we got sold out in the river by George Bush, and that's why we did so bad. And now we're talking, hey, we're going to defend the American worker, the American people, and we're winning more black people's votes. And it didn't just hurt us with white. It hurt us. I believe it hurt us with black votes. They feel like they have nowhere to go. If we push this amnesty thing, we sell out on this, we're going to lose a tremendous opportunity to get black votes. What do you think about that there, Greg?
Well, I don't do black votes, green votes, white votes. My attitude is we're going to lose a tremendous opportunity because we're right. The American people agree with us. We're allowing these ethnic front groups and their mouthpieces in Congress and the media to push us around and browbeat us and threaten us, which is absolutely outrageous. You know, so my attitude is we ought to take our message to the American people. And what message should that be? It's the only message that makes sense. It's a message of liberty and opportunity and growth and private property. Why do people come to this country? Well, a lot of them come for welfare, but some don't. And those are the people we want to talk to. But you're right. In these communities in the United States that are destitute, where liberal Democrats have been mayors and city councilmen and women for decade after decade after decade, where they've been recipients of federal grants and programs and control, they're a disaster. We have to offer them an opportunity. Look, I'll give you an example. My little legal foundation, Landmark Legal Foundation, led the fight for school choice in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Did you know that? And you know who we faced? The ACLU, the NAACP, the NEA, the AFT, all the usuals who claim to represent the little guy, claim to represent minorities. They don't. They represent government, period. And this is something we can talk about and push rather than this Common Core crap, rather than nationalizing education through the back door and so forth and so on. We need to break up these liberal monopolies. We need to unleash Americans. We need to unleash our economic power. We need to unleash our brain power. And we're not doing it. People are spending hours upon hours working on their taxes, some regulation, Obamacare, trying to deal with insurance, and on and on. This has to stop. Thank you for your call. Why won't anybody talk about it? Why do I always say, why won't anybody talk about it? The reason is relatively simple. Other than a relative handful, the Republican Party is not a pro-liberty party. It's not a pro-Constitution party. It's not a conservative party. Most of the Republicans, even these so-called reformicons, they have surrendered to a big centralized government, and they justify it. They even pretend that Edmund Burke would support it. So for them, it's over. For them, you and I, we're intemperate. We're malcontents. Well, I am a little of both of those things because I've had enough. I've had enough. We're more like the framers. We're more like the abolitionists. Yes, we're more like the civil rights movement. They had enough too. I'll be right back.
Marc Levin.
Hillsdale College. Gives you hope, doesn't it? If you're like many Americans, you know the Constitution is crucially important. Do you really understand the rights and liberties it allows you to enjoy every day? Hillsdale College has declared 2015 the year of the Constitution. And they teach it better than anyone else. In fact, every student, regardless of the major they're in, is required to master a course on the Constitution. Now, this course is available to you as well, online, for free. Every one of my listeners, all of you owe it to yourselves to take this course, to understand the Constitution and spread the word. After all, we can't keep our freedom without it. The course is Constitution 101, and it's provided free as part of Hillsdale College's basic mission to defend liberty. Register for free today, and once you start the course, you'll receive a new lecture every week that you can watch whenever you want, along with readings, discussion boards, and more. You can really get into this and spread the word, and it can actually become invigorating. I know, this is what I do. Make 2015 your year to learn the Constitution. Sign up for Constitution 101 for free at levinforhillsdale.com. That's Levin for Hillsdale.com. You know, all these various wonderful folks and providers and service providers that come on the program, why don't they use the first name Mark? But you know Levin, Levin, levinforhillsdale.com, levinforhillsdale.com. You know, particularly when you're snowed out and your kids aren't going to school, you can take this course and you can involve your children and your grandchildren. Involve your family. It's a really great thing. You know, when I was, I don't like to do when I was this, I was that. You know, consultants keep saying, you got to talk more about yourself, everybody. And then you hear these guys go off talking about the last hamburger they had or the bowel movement they have or whatever. Well, that's intriguing radio. But anyway, I used to go off on my own before there was a Hillsdale course like this when I was like 13 or 14. And I would study up on history. You knew what the course was in high school and junior high at the time. And I would make sure I knew more than that particular teacher knew about that particular subject that day. Almost all of my teachers were liberals. Not all, but almost all. Almost all of my professors were liberals. Not all, but almost all, like today. And so I would challenge them. I challenged them in law school, did the same thing. I'm bringing this up because we have a lot of younger people who are listening, and I want you to know, you can do the same thing. You can be respectful. You know, you don't need to be rowdy or anything of the sort. Just throw a couple of facts in there, a couple of issues in there, and make them respond. And then they know, during the rest of the semester, they actually have a student who probably knows more than they do, but certainly knows more on a particular issue or subject than they do, and they're going to have to be on their toes and not just be propagandists. I would encourage young people to do that, whether you're in high school or college or graduate school or law school or whatever. Certainly something I did, and I got a kick out of it, and I enjoyed it, and I'll tell you something else. After the class, liberals would actually come up to me and thank me. Not because they agreed with me, but they never heard anything from our perspective. Anyway, that's just me. How about Kim, Alexandria, Virginia, the great WMAL? Go.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for taking my call, and thanks for educating our country every night. You are a true patriot.
Thank you.
Two things, real quick. I've spoken to you briefly before. Everybody I work with is from Central America. I'm the only American born on a team of 12 people. At one point or another, they all came here illegally. They have since arrived, come here, established themselves, all had families. And now when we talk at work, we debate about this amnesty issue, and I keep reminding them because they know that
let me just slow you down. They came here illegally. Are they still here illegally?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay.
So so we talk about, pardon me, I have a cold. So we talk about this amnesty, and they're really upset about it. And first of all, they think it's all about Central Americans. And I explain to them it's about all illegal immigrants throughout the world.
Correct. Now, we're going to run out of time, so cut right to it.
Okay, number two. Second of all, I remind them that the people that employ immigrants, they're looking for the cheapest labor possible, and soon enough, some of the people who've come from other countries to work here will be out of work because now they have skills and now they're getting paid higher wages. And believe me,
but are they really going to care about that, given that they came through the same way?
What's that?
Are they really going to care about that, given that they did essentially the same thing?
Yes, they're going to lose their own jobs. They're going to lose their own jobs. Number two, they've had children here, and there's no money for their children. And they're not going to...
I appreciate Kim. I have to go. Don't be mad at me. Got your point. I appreciate it. I only have 45 seconds left. I just want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that the Clintons are raking in money hand over fist for their foundation from countries like the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and so forth and so on. You think those people are trying to buy Hillary Clinton? You think she's up for sale? No way! Ladies and gentlemen, we salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, and emergency personnel, and you, the American people. I'll see you right here tomorrow. I'm Marc Levin. And you, the American people. I'll see you right here tomorrow. I'm Marc Levin.